you asked me a question about what has changed about SkillStat, or perhaps me, in the last 10 years, because we're on the cusp of a 10-year anniversary, which is happening tomorrow, since we really started to get moving with SkillStat. And one of the things that's most important, I think, to me, particularly in the last 3 or 4 years, has been just how important this make it real, right? Where people will do a course, but it's not enough. Does it actually have value for a person that's taken the course when they're presented with the emergency situation? And what I'm finding is that lately I've had a question. One of the questions is in an emergency situation, do you have a problem? Someone's has something going on. And if you had only one way to deal with it, is that what you want? Like that you only have one approach, right? And people think about this a bit, and then they usually come back to you or to me, and they'll say, no, actually, we want at least 2, maybe 3 ways, because the situation, the complexity of the situation, sometimes that one thing that you want to do, even though it's proven to be the best thing, you may look at the team around you and they're not ready for this. They're not practicing this. They're not aware of this. Or maybe I'm the practitioner and haven't spent enough time on this and learned it well enough to feel confident about it. There are different situations. We'll call on different approaches. So we need to have more than one way to look at something. And then when you come to this moment where this complex emergency starts to unfold, that at any moment, what do I need to do? Like, what's my priority now? And of course, in order to take that and execute your priority, you need to have a number of, skills that you can apply to the situation. And at any time, it may be a different skill. So, our company is called SkillStat, and it kind of stumbled on a name back 20 years ago, 22 years ago. And we've kind of evolved into the real strength of the name, which is we want people to leave and feel that the real value of spending time with us is that they feel equipped with their abilities, their capabilities. And then they also have the ability to size up any situation as not a single variable situation, but that there are multiple factors. And they can drink these in and quickly identify, we even provide models for this, but quickly identify what's my priority move right now, right? So an example would be a person is in a rhythm. You and I have talked about, one rhythm is called ventricular fibrillation. The heart is quivering at rates of 400 to 700, per minute, right? And at that time, there's essentially no blood flow, right? So no blood flow. And I ask people, so how long does it take before someone loses consciousness? It's like, it's actually about 3 to 5 seconds. So you're now there. Now, and then it's these mental exercises. If you're there by yourself, what's your priority move? Like, what is the thing that you got to get done right now? And then it said, well, they kind of stumped a little bit because, like, you haven't given me enough information. It's like, you're right, I haven't. It's like, are you with people close by? Do you have a person already connected up to, perhaps a monitor defibrillator where you can charge and shock right now? Is it best to just call help while you're trying to do something else? You need to push a button on the wall? Are you in the biggest center? Are you in a remote place where you're the only one there, right? And in each one of those situations, your priority move differs. So if you're in this remote spot and you have a monitor defibrillator or an automated external defibrillator, an AED ready, then everybody comes to I got to shock as soon as I can. I have to stop this quiver. So they've identified what the priority, move is, but it's based on not just a single factor. It has to do with the context of the situation. And so it's not just about the fact that someone's in ventricular fibrillation. It's also, my abilities. It's also what is the resources around me, right? So time factors in, right? The success of what I'm about to do factors in. If it's like 100% success, that's what I want to do right away. If it's like 26% success, well, that's kind of getting a little muddy now. And this is why I'm hoping that this is why when people come into and we spend time together, that when they leave, they feel like they're equipped with the ability to perform, in real life. And, just to anchor this, just let you know that, most of these emergency situations have algorithms. And when the algorithms are kind of painted, and they're complicated. Like there's a lot to them. And I ask people in this, like, so if you're in real life and you had this algorithm that's this small on your card, would you use this during an emergency? And it takes no time for people to say, no, it's not that useful. There's too many pieces to it. I said, and then the question is if you can glean, something, the gist of this algorithm, as in, what is the number one thing you want to do that's going to likely make the highest success, that takes the least amount of time, all right? And if you can bring that together, and if you take the third thing, which is, it has the least risk of further damage, then you got something that you want to like move mountains to get done, right? So like lately, it was the question is, if let's say, Chrissy, you and I are here, and it's like, and I was the only person you're going to get to talk to on earth, right? Like, you don't bring me back, you're all by yourself, right? Now, it might be preferable, right? But, if you feel like you want to bring me back, then the question to them in the room is, what would you get done right now, right? You're not going to call out because there's nobody to call out to, all right? What are you going to bring there and get done right away? In that moment, when there's just one person, there's one thing to do. You've got a second person there that's trying to bring me back. It changes it. How close are they? Are they within earshot? Right. Another scenario would be what happens if the equipment isn't right there? And then so I can get somebody I can offload and get somebody else to go get the equipment. Then I might be thinking, well, they're doing that. I don't have the equipment here. My number one changes. And in this situation, it maybe I have to get CPR started. I got to save this person. I want them to talk to me after. I got to get that blood flow. We often bring this back. And this is what maybe one of the things that's changing is this thing right now, this triangle, which has a symbol in the center, which is I stands for intervention, and that little dot there is like primary. Right. So what's your primary intervention at any moment? And it changes. That's what real life looks like. That's what's really actually so fun, I guess, in some sense. It is kind of a serious game. And in that, you're looking for something that works the quickest. So, and not only that, but hopefully it's the most efficient on not just time, but also resources and energy allowed. So it's most efficient. And the same thing, of course, you want something that's going to be the most effective at that moment. Like it has the highest likelihood of success. And then there's a third, because this is real people, right? You want also, the one that has the least risk. And at any time in an emergency, that changes. You add another person into a team that has significant expertise that can improve this, and even less and this more. It changes, and this is now an emerging complex picture that is not beyond us. As soon as we say complex, it's like, I don't know about complex. I want to stick with simple. So, well, this is actually this is simplicity in the midst of this complexity, that if you're equipped with this, you should have the ability to be agile and bring the most important thing to bear at the beginning. And at any moment, it's like, what's my most important thing? Ends up becoming a really valuable question. And of course, to execute this, you need to be skilled. All right, so this is our mission, right, in many ways. And this is why we've come to this point where, simply agile is on our site. But there's a lot of depth to this. And part of this is just, the biggest part of this is, how do we help people to be ready, in these moments, in these real world moments, right? And it's not one single algorithm. It's a different thing. And unfortunately, that's the other thing we ask people. So how many times do you think someone's going to come to you and go, I'm here for VFib, right? And it's like the single algorithm, and that's never going to happen. So how come this is what seems to be how we learn? And then how come some, and a lot of times the real life doesn't look as good as what we did in sim. So we want to be, that. And we like other people to be that. And it doesn't have to be just us. Right. So, yeah. So on the anniversary, 10-year anniversary, this is more of, what makes us real. And so I appreciate the question.